One of the amazing things about Anthropic, the company, is that they're really good at innovating, at building tools that sort of push the envelope. Just remember, a few months ago, Anthropic came out with MCP, Model Context Protocol. So Model Context Protocol is essentially a standardized way in which large language models can go and pull context, pull data from different places. And this standardized way is changing, or has changed, the way we are able to feed our agents, our large language models, with context, with data, sort of more knowledge for the large language model. But that's not what we're going to be talking about in this video. In this video, we're going to talk about something that they dropped, which is agent skills, Claude skills. What is this new thing about? Well, that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So I would like to ask you to stay till the end of this video, because I'm going to go over everything you need to know about agent skills and how to think about them, how they work, what they are, advantages, disadvantages, and how to start thinking in terms of where we're going when it comes to AI and building agents. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So if you go to Anthropic new skills as such, you can see introducing agent skills, and they talk about what is it. They've got video and they've got all these things. But one thing that is really awesome about the agent skills, which we're going to talk about in this video, of course, we are talking about it, is that it allows you to have the power of not repeating yourself. I'll show you what I mean by that. So the idea of agent skills is that now you have sort of a recipe that you can put together and use that recipe whenever you need. But it's not just like a strange recipe. It is process. Let me show you. Now, let's say you are a content creator, you're a YouTuber, or create blogs. I would assume that you do a lot of things repetitively. For instance, you have to find the topic that you want to talk about, you want to write about, or build or create a video about. And in your process of building a video, creating a video, or writing an article, you see that you have repeatable tasks that you do. It could be finding the topics. It could be doing a research. The idea behind agent skills is that now you can actually package all of these instructions. For instance, go and fetch X, Y, and Z. Write this way. Here is a template. So you can package all of these up into a package, into a bundle, which allows you to come to Claude Desktop, for instance, and then trigger that skill. That way, all of the work is abstracted out, which means now the AI is going to be able to pull all of the steps, all of the recipes that you have pre-configured to do the research, to do all the work, to do all the tasks for you. And that is huge, because now you're able to aid your large language model, in this case, the application here, Claude, for instance, as an example, to follow a certain recipe on how to solve a certain problem, on how to create something for you. So now you don't have to repeat yourself constantly to do those tasks. And that is the power of agent skills, or Claude skills. As an example, if you go to settings and go to capabilities, you can see now that you have what we call skills. These are repeatable, customizable instructions that Claude can follow in any chat. So you can go ahead and learn. You can also upload your own skills, which is real cool. So now we're getting to the point where we can create our own skills using Claude itself, which then we are able to create the skill, and then we can take that skill and install in our Claude desktop or web, what have you. They have some of these skills that are preloaded. We have this algorithmic art, we have this artifacts builder, and brand guidelines, and all of that. You can see I've used this canvas design to create beautiful art in PNG and PDF documents and all of that. So if you want to test one of these out, you can just go ahead and click to enable it, and then you can click here and try in chat. Let's give it a try. If you go like that, you can see it says, "Hey Claude, I just added the artifacts builder skill. Can you make something amazing?" Let's see what will happen. I'm going to hit enter. And so what's happening now is that it's going to pull that skill, which essentially is a file that contains, and I'll show you later, that contains all of these pieces that we have written or we have created with the help of AI, so that now it can follow exactly the recipe, the details on how to accomplish this task. And one thing to notice here is that you can see that it says it's reading the artifacts builder skill to understand its advanced capabilities for creating blah, blah, blah. The artifacts builder, what does that mean? As we'll show you later, it is indeed part of that skill builder, the component, which is going to be some sort of an MD file, that MD file where we'll have all of the recipe, the details that now these AI, in this case our Claude application, needs to go and look at it and read and see exactly what needs to be done in order to do what I asked it to do, which is to use that skill builder to create these artifacts. And then it actually created an output here. So it's actually doing things that the skill itself has the capability of doing, which is really amazing. So imagine having this package that is just waiting to be triggered so that whenever it's triggered, it knows exactly what to do. App.tsx, this is actually code. If you open, it's going to show you exactly. Now, this takes time because there's a lot of work that's happening. So we're going to close that since it's still working. Okay, so it's working, doing its thing, installing recharts, creating analytics. And now let's update the app to import and use analytics component. Okay, so it's doing all these things and let's see what happens. Okay, so you can see that after a little bit, we are able to see your amazing AI course development dashboard is ready. You can view your AI course development here. So if I command click, it's going to show me this, right? All was created. I'm going to go ahead and open this in Chrome. And we have AI Course Development Hub, and we have all the students and all of these things as you see here. Okay. All of this, by the way, was created. I didn't have to write all of the prompts. I used the artifact builder skills to allow, in this case, the large language model to invoke it and then go through the script and then create something like this. Now you may say, well, this is all fun and everything, but what is the point? Why do I even care about this? And that is a question that you should always ask yourself. Now let me show you exactly to understand why do we even care? Why is this a game changer, in my opinion? As you saw, if you wanted to do what I just showed you, you would have to go to Claude, of course, and start typing away, which means you have to prompt it and you would get the things that you want. But the problem with that is that next time you want to create the same thing, you will have to prompt the same thing and sometimes get different results. That is the nature of AI. But also you have a lot of repetition. Imagine that you want to create some other skill or you want something else that you might want to do. For instance, creating articles or promotional emails, thumbnails, or code review. All of this is very possible, but you notice there's a lot of repetition. Now, with Claude skills, with agent skills, same thing really, now you compact everything together. You put all of this in a package, all these different skills. You compact each one of these different skills, which then can be added into your Claude Code. And the beauty here is that your Claude Code will always know when to infer that skill. Infer that from your query that you pass along when you're going along and querying in a chatbot, just like I showed you. And that is real awesome. But now you may say, okay, this is great. I could have also done the same thing by using Claude projects with instructions. Yes, you can. But the problem here is that, well, if you do that, then you have other issues. Number one, problem with using Claude projects with instructions, although possible, is that you lose portability. What does that mean? Well, if you have a project, that means you cannot port that and use in a different project, because most of these instructions that you add for each project are sort of set in stone. You sure can go and edit them, but that's not the point. The point here is that you want something that is portable, meaning if I create a skill that is for promotional emails, that itself, I can always refer to that. It has all the instructions and things happen whenever I want them to. Number two is that this is not stackable. What does that mean? When you have a project, a Claude project with instructions, all those instructions are sort of like created in a very isolated environment, which means they can't communicate with each other. So if you have articles project and then you have thumbnails project with instructions and so forth, each one is its own entity, right? So they work in isolation, which you can really commingle between these projects. Now, all of that is solved when it comes to agent skills, because now the beauty here is that these can actually interact with each other. Each one of these, it's still its own entity, right? But they can work with each other. And so now you have this environment where Claude is able not only to have the skills separately, but they can also commingle and work together, point at each other whenever something is needed. That, my friend, is very exciting. That is the beauty that I want you to understand when it comes to agent skills. And keep in mind, even though the diagram shows that everything is sort of commingled, Claude is still able to infer from your query which skill to go and pick. So if you're talking about write me an article and all that, it will know, I need to go and pick up the articles skill instead of the code review. And that is the beauty. These are the advantages that we have when using agent skills. Okay, now let's talk about some of the misconceptions here, because now you may be thinking, okay, so we have agent skills, we have MCP, and we also have, as we say, Claude projects with instructions. So what's really going on? How do all of these work together? Do they work together? I mean, is this overkill? Are we mixing a lot of different technologies together? Let me show you what's really going on. Let me show you how to think about this situation, because it's really easy to think that this could be just one of those marketing ploys to say, we're just going to build these pieces and we just need something new. Let me show you. So here is the structural way of thinking about all these different technologies. So notice that we have Claude at the top. So Claude is the core brain. Just think of the core intelligence. But within this core intelligence, we have these pieces. These are the tools. These are the components that sort of complement Claude. Now, if you see you have MCP, these are for tools connection, model context protocol. Also, if you want to learn more about MCP, let me know in the comments so I know you're interested in learning about MCP. I can create a separate video about that. Okay, so MCP, this is for tool connections. So the large language model can connect to other tools, but using a standardized way of doing so. And then we have project. These are dedicated workspaces, as we talked about. And then we have skills. These are reusable recipes. All of these pieces, all of these components on their own, they are equally important. So skills, I don't think are here to eradicate any of these. There are times when you want to use projects. There are times you want to use MCP. There are times you need to use skills. There are times perhaps you want to use all of them. So that's how you need to think about it. Nothing about one is going to be overpowering the other. With that, you also have to realize that there's no competition going on here. There's this sort of symbiosis, complementary relationship that happens. So skills, MCP, and projects. Again, these are different technologies, different components, but coming together, depending on your situation, you can use one or the other or all of them. So I hope this sort of demystifies the misconceptions about whether or not the skills, the agent skills, is here to replace MCP or even projects. That is not true. These are just different pieces that you can use whenever you want to use, and certain projects will call for certain components. There's a place where they say how skills work, and this is essentially what I've already explained to you. It's nice to reiterate things. When one matches, it loads only the minimal information and files needed. Now, this is very important, as we'll see, because we need to minimize the tokens, because we don't want to use a lot of tokens. I'm going to talk about it in a second here. Just keep watching. Here are the most important key points about agent skills. Number one is that they need to be composable. What does that mean? Well, that says the skills stack together. That means you can have different skills that can communicate with each other, right? Claude automatically identifies which skills are needed and coordinate their use. This is beautiful. I said earlier you can have different skills, and depending on the query that you pass along, Claude is going to be able to discern which skill it needs, and sometimes may need one or two skills, and they can all work together. And also, they're portable. We talk about skills must be portable, which means we want to have a same format essentially and make sure that they work everywhere. So build once, run everywhere, just like Java, if you know what I mean. But the point here is that we can use across Claude apps, Claude Code, even Claude API. So these, again, we go back to this standardization of ways to use these pieces of technology, these components. Talked about efficiency, only loads what's needed. This is important because we want to make sure that these skills, when they're being loaded, because skills can be very large, a lot of things, but we don't want to load everything because that can affect the context window and all of that. So the efficiency part of thing is that it only loads what's needed when it's needed. Okay, powerful skills can include executable code for tasks where traditional programming is more reliable than token generation. This is also important. The fact that we can say in our skills, Claude.md, which I'll show you, we can run this code or run this code when needed. It actually makes it even more powerful, because now instead of just relying on the ability of large language models, we are saying here is the code that you must run when you get to this part of the skill. Okay, so now let's look at the actual anatomy of an agent skill, a Claude skill. So you can see here we have agent plus skills for a virtual machine. Now, there's a lot of things going on here, but the point here is to show you in a system is that, for instance, the agent will have its own configurations, and then we can have core system prompt, all these things that we should know about or we kind of abstract out. But the idea is that agent will be equipped with skills. For instance, could have a skill that allows it to do BigQuery tasks and all of that, or docx, NDA preview, PDF, PPTX, right, slides and so forth. All these skills could be equipped onto an agent. And then we can also equip that agent with other things. This is the beauty I said earlier, is that the skills essentially are not replacing anything, because you can see this agent also has a way to get to an MCP server 1, 2, 3. The agent virtual machine, what happens inside is that it will create what we call a file system. So for each one of these skills, it will have its own file system. And I'll show you in a little bit to see exactly what's going on inside. And this takes us to the second point, which is what is the anatomy of a skill. But in essence, you can see each one of the skill has a skill.md file. It has data source.md, rules.md. But most importantly, you can see all of these skills in the file system must have skill.md. All of them, as you see here. The other .md files could be optional, but the skill.md has to be there. So this is how things are loaded inside of a skill directory. So essentially, a skill is a directory that has some of these files that you see here to allow them to be packaged up so that the large language model, Claude in this case, is able to invoke that skill. Inside of, for instance, a PDF creator of some sort skill, this is what you'll have. You'll have a skill.md file, which I talked about. Now, what is going to be inside of this skill.md file? Well, inside you will have something like this. It has to be divided into very important parts. The top is what we call the YAML front matter. This is where we have the name, description of the skill. Now, this is very important, as you will see in a second here. And then we have the markdown that gives us an overview of that skill, all of the intricacies, the recipe of that skill. Right? It says here, skill.md file must begin with the YAML front matter that contains a file name description which is loaded into its system prompt as startup. It's important to notice here, the important thing to notice is that because of efficiency, whenever a skill is loaded up, not the whole file system is going to be loaded up. Only the description and the title, those are the first metadata pieces that are loaded into the large language model, or the agent in this case, so that it has a context of what is available. This is good. Why? Because we don't want to load everything beforehand, because that is just a lot of data. That is not going to be efficient. So giving the agent the ability to just have snippets of what the skill is about, it's very important. Why? Because then it's easier for it to know, I have this skill that you're asking, that I'm inferring from your query, meaning if you're typing in something on Claude Desktop or Claude Web. And so that is a very distinct capability that we really need to keep in mind. This is all part of efficiency. Now, as I said before, the skill.md file is the core of a skill. However, you can see here, you can build additional content. You can see that within the skill.md, inside of the actual markdown, you can see we can also reference other MD files. So now you can have some sort of a structural representation of different files that will aid the main skill. You can see here, I'm referencing this reference.md. This is assuming it is under the PDF file, or rather the PDF directory for the skill, and to say go ahead and reference the MD file. Now we're compartmentalizing things, right? So in this main markdown here, the skill.md, we can say you use or see reference.md which is going to go ahead and find within that directory this MD file also to aid to say, okay, this is what I need to look at in order for me to continue doing what I need to do, which is to do a task of some sort. And this is important. We can have as many other that MD file as we want, as we need for our overall skill. Context is everything when it comes to large language models. And if you look at a skill, it's all about context. It's all about data. It's all about figuring out ways in which we can compact all of these piece of context so that the large language model is able to do exactly what it needs to do. Okay, so if you're still with me, I hope you are. We need to talk about something that is really awesome when it comes to using skills, right? These agent skills. There's this concept called progressive disclosure. Is the core design principle that makes agent skills flexible and scalable. It is exactly what I started talking about, which is progressively loads what is needed and when it's needed. When the skill is invoked or when a skill is first loaded, not everything is loaded, only the description and the title. So the most important metadata for the large language model, for the agent to have context of what is available to it skill-wise. Okay, so it says here, like a well-organized manual that starts with a table of contents and specify then specific chapters, and finally a detailed appendix. Skills let Claude load information only as needed. Keyword, only as needed. Only as needed. Part of efficiency, exactly what I just talked about. And you can see this table here, levels, right? So we have file and we have levels, context window. Now I want you to pay attention here. So level 1, 2, 3 plus. So file, skill.md, metadata, the YAML part of thing. Context window, always loaded, right? So the token's close to 100 because it just pulls the top. And then the second level, skill.md body, which is all of this after the first part there. This part is the markdown. So this is loaded when skill is triggered. Right? This is part of this progressive, as you see here, progressive disclosure. Doesn't disclose everything, progressively does that. Okay, so loads when skill is triggered, so less than 5K. And then the 3+ level, bundles, files, text files, scripts, and data, loaded as needed by Claude. So you can see, again, it's always loaded as needed. So what does that mean? It gives us efficiency and we don't use up a lot of tokens. Now, the other power of skills is that you can also bundle scripts that are executable scripts, which means you can have code that you can execute or let the agent execute. But all of that has to be part of the recipe. So you can see here in our forms.md, for instance, this is part of that directory which is compiled into an actual skill. You can see that we can say, okay, run this script from this file directory. So inside we can have a script called extract fields.py. In this case here, it's going to know to infer the actual script. Notice all is under PDF directory, and then we have forms.md, and then we can actually add the code. If you go to Claude cookbooks, you can see that they have an example of an actual skill encoded everything. And just like what we're talking about, you can see this apply brand guideline as a skill, right? You can see internally we have this skill MD and it has to be always like this, right? If I click here, you can see it has this top YAML preformatted. As you see here, name and description, what's loaded first, okay? And then we have the actual body with instructions and all of that. But also notice we can reference, we have this reference MD, which could be referenced somewhere in this skills.md file. Now, if I click here, of course, it should have, it's an MD file and allows us to reference that. But also you can see that we have this apply brand and validate brand. These are just what? Well, that PY, just code. So essentially it's talking about exactly what we're talking about here, which we can actually reference code that we can run. All of that is part of this package. Again, this makes these skills real powerful. The things that you can do, it's just incredible. By the way, if you're enjoying this video and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and also like this video. If you want me to continue creating this kind of content, because it takes time, it takes a lot of work, I would appreciate if you subscribe if you're not, and go ahead and smash the like button. That way I'm happy and I continue serving you. All right, let's continue. Okay, so we're making good progress here. Now I'm going to show you how do you actually go about creating your own skills. Now this is going to be something that we can divide into different parts. We can do all of that in code if you are a coder, some of you are, or not. Or you can also use Claude Desktop or Claude Web to build your own skills. This is incredible. Now in this video, I'm not going to focus on the actual building part, but I'm going to show you the steps you will find. If you're interested, maybe in the following videos, I could create where I go really deep into building your own skills, right? Let me know if that's what you would like in the comments below. Okay, if you go to Agent Skills documents, or Claude Docs, I should say, if you go to Agent Skills, you can see we have an overview here. So this tells you what skills are, why use skills, all the things that we talked about, and how to use them, and tells us that we have the pre-built skills, which I showed you. When you go to Claude, whether web or Claude Desktop, you can go and see capabilities and look at all the skills, okay? And all of that. We've got tutorials, they've got how it works and the things that we talked about, the first level, metadata, always loaded, and all these things. And this is beautiful because you can go through the process of seeing the resources, how they are structured. Remember, PDF skills, for instance, that would be the skill. And then inside we have the skill.md, that main instructions. We can have forms.md, form filling, or any other reference that we want. Okay, we can also have scripts and add as many scripts as you want. As you saw, I showed you can reference things around, which makes these very powerful. Okay, so that is part of what we can do. We've got a quick start and all of that stuff. Now, I'm going to show you how you would even use, in this case, Claude Desktop to build your own skill. So if you go to Claude again, go to settings, go to capabilities, just like we did before, scroll all the way up like this. We can see that we have our skills: brand, canvas design, internal, MCP builder, and voila, we have skill builder. So if you tick this, that allows you to create a skill, right? It says guide for creating effective skills. This skill should be used when users want to create a new skill. So I'm going to click here and try in chat. Make a skill that would allow me with SEO friendly YouTube video titles. Okay, I can even say ensure that they are compliant with YouTube rules. Okay, let's see what will happen. So I'm going to say send that over. Okay, so now it's going to use the skill. Look at that, reading the skill, create a documentation to understand how to create effective skills. Very good. That is part of the actual skill, which I'm sure it says go ahead and read the documentation on how to generate a skill, which is beautiful, very meta, but is pretty awesome. Okay, reading the skills.md, it has the skills.md file internally. Very good. Initializing the YouTube SEO title skill with the template structure. Click here is going to show exactly what it's doing internally, creating the structure and everything, creating a reference guide to YouTube SEO best practices. So after a little while, you can see that we have all the pieces. So went through this step, created some code and the template. As you see here, I'm going to click and see if I can actually see the template. Look at this. This is the title templates.md. I hope it created the actual skill. Oh, it looks like the skill failed. Okay, so it created the actual skill, but this is one of the templates. You can read and see exactly what it does. All right, very good. And skill MD was created. There we go, beautiful. It has the title and the description, which is exactly what we said. So it knows how to create all of those pieces, and we have the actual body. And optional, analyze titles using scripts title analyzer.py. Again, the way in which you can reference other pieces of code or pieces of MD file within the skill.md. And it did all the cleaning up, and in the end you can see here says download your YouTube SEO titles skill, and I can click here and that would allow me to download. Of course, it's kind of hard to see from here, but I can just close, and if I go all the way down, it gives me exactly how do I install that file. Okay, and I can open here. You can see here there's this YouTube SEO titles skill. I have two, but we're going to use one of them. So now let's go ahead and open settings and go to capabilities, and let's go to see if we can install our new skill. So I'm going to upload new skill. I'm I'm going to click here and voila, I can get this YouTube SEO skill and click and see if that's going to work. Look at that. Skill uploaded successfully. And there it is, YouTube SEO titles. Okay, so we have here, I'm going to right click, try and chat. Okay, so hey Claude, I just added the YouTube SEO skills, title skills. Can you make something amazing? Say, I am working on a video on how agent skills work. Let's go run. Look at it, reading the YouTube SEO title skill to understand methodology. So now it's using our skill that we just created. Let's go ahead, reading the main skill.md file. Okay, reading the title templates. Okay, now it's ready to get started. Just like that, you can see I have indeed this. So it created the YouTube SEO titles for how agent still works or agent skills work and give me a recommendation. This is the title. I might use this title for this video, we'll see. And targets agent skills, AI tools, hook, time saving, promise, and all of that. Top alternatives. What are agent skills? Complete guide. This is 9 out of 10. Curiosity. The hidden power of agent skills nobody's teaching. And all of these things. This is incredible. I'm actually going to be using this tool for my videos, my YouTube videos, and see how this works. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just showed you from zero to understand what agent skills are and how they work, the advantages of using this new component, these new tools, but also understanding how to create them. Now, albeit I showed you how to create using, this is very meta, using Claude desktop itself or Claude Web if you are using Claude Web. The idea is that you can also use code using Claude API to build your own using code, which I can show you in the next videos. But this video was mainly to get you started with agents skill so that you understand what they do, how they work, and all of that. And I hope I have delivered. If I have delivered, go ahead in the comments and say delivered. And if you have any questions, of course, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video and let me know what you want to learn next. This is just incredible, and I hope this was helpful. Until next time, my friends, be well.